Help! My church is out to get me. You're listening to the Healthy Church Staff Podcast. My name is Todd Rhoades. I'm one of the co-founders over at chemistrystaffing.com. Thanks so much for joining us. We're here every weekday, Monday through Friday, for I started saying 5 minutes, but I talk a long time sometimes, so sometimes it's 6 or 7 minutes, but it's a great way to hopefully get your day started. Maybe you listen on your way to work, or you listen when you get to the office, maybe you listen in the evening. Regardless, subscribe, and I'm so glad you're here. Today we're going to talk about, the title is, My Church is Out to Get Me. And in my other life, other than being the host here at the Healthy Church Staff Podcast, I am one of the co-founders at Chemistry Staffing, and I spend a lot of my day talking to candidates, talking to church staff people just like you that are in the midst of transition, that are looking for a new role, a new pastoral position, a new staff position. And one of the things I hear a lot of times, more often than I'd like to hear, is that people feel like their churches are abusive, and they might not say this out loud, although sometimes they do. They'll say, really, in essence, my church is out to get me. And it's a common challenge for many church staffs. Sometimes being on church staff really feels like a battlefield. It seems like people have taken up arms against you and are fighting a fight against you. You didn't even know you were in a fight, and you don't even know what you're at war about. But sometimes it happens. And there are all different types of things that contribute to this inside the church, or at least the feeling that you have sometimes that just people are out to get you, the church is out to get you. And sometimes it's just because you're tired or you feel beat down, and everything, have you ever been here? I have. Everything seems like a battle, even things that aren't a battle. Every person just gets on your last nerve, even if they don't mean to. And sometimes it's just because you're tired or you're beat down and you just need a little respite from the day-to-day pressures. Sometimes it's a lack of communication, and a lack of communication can contribute to all different kinds of misunderstandings and misrepresentations, not only for other people, what they think about you, but what you think about other people. A lot of times it's a lack of communication. You're jumping to extremes, or maybe just going with a gut, but not really having any real solid communication to back that up. And sometimes, honestly, can you relate? Can I get an amen? Sometimes you feel like a stranger in your own church, or you have the feeling that there are people that just want you gone. And you know what? Sometimes that's true. And sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's just our perception. So how do you size up this problem? First of all, I think if I were you, this is what I would do. I would really try and get to the bottom of it. Is this problem, is the feeling that people are out to get me, my church is out to get me, is this something real, or is it just perceived? Maybe, like I said, maybe you're tired, maybe you haven't communicated. Is this a real problem, or is it perceived? And to really dig into that, ask yourself, how am I even aware? Why do I feel this way? Why am I aware, or at least thinking about this problem? Is it just my gut? Is it my intuition? Is it gossip that I overheard? Is there maybe some animosity or something that happened in a group setting, in a meeting? Bottom line, are people really out to get me? Is this church just really out to get me, or am I just overstating all the potential issues in my head? Have I tried to communicate with those that I feel are against me? And a lot of times, the answer to that question is no, just because it's uncomfortable. All right, so if you're in this state, and like I said, we're all there at some point in our ministry, here are some next steps. And hopefully this will be helpful for you today. I'd love to hear your feedback. Maybe you're in the midst of this. Maybe you just got out of this kind of frame of mind or this kind of situation, and you'd love to share with me. You can always send me an email. Matter of fact, I would love to hear from you today. Just send me an email at podcast@chemistrystaffing.com, podcast@chemistrystaffing.com. So here are some next steps to help you deal with this. Okay. First question I would ask myself is, how long am I willing and choosing to live with these feelings? You can live here for a while, but you can't live here for a long time. So how long are you going to choose to live with those feelings? Have I set a time that I need to have a discussion? Is there somebody, maybe somebody that I feel is out to get me, that I just need to sit down and have a conversation with, and I've been putting it off? I know I need to do it, but I've been putting it off. Today's the day, my friend. If you've got a conversation you need to have, let's go ahead and set that up. Have a lunch appointment. Go take them out for coffee. Just start with some clear communication. That will help. And if the conversation doesn't go well, at least you'll have clarity. At least you won't be wondering, hey, is this in my head? You'll know it's a real problem, right? So set up that conversation. And think about this too. If things are bad, and if you determine at some point that you need to leave, do you have a clear path? Always be thinking about that as well. But before you get there, are you open? Are you open to anything that you might have done to cause any of this? Are you open to reconciliation? Are you open to make things better? Or are you just done? Sometimes you just get to the point where, and I've been there, where you don't even know what started it. You don't even know how you got there, but you're just done. You have to come to that conclusion. Are you open to working things out, or are you just ready? But before you make any decision, I would encourage you, are you in a good, healthy place to make the decision? If you're tired, if you're burned out, if you're beat down, if you're stressed, try not to make too many huge decisions when you're like that. You need to make sure you're in a healthy place. And then finally, what can I learn from this? How do we get here? Retrace your steps back. And how do you make sure that you don't get back there again? The status quo, if you're in this kind of funk of people are out to get me, the church is out to get me, this kind of status quo, it's not a long-term option. It will eat you up. It will affect your ministry. It'll affect your relationships. It'll affect your family and your marriage, your relationship with your kids. So status quo is not a long-term option. So what's your next step? I can't tell you what that is. I've given you some potential next steps here about maybe having a hard discussion, maybe making sure that you just don't live here forever and you choose to deal with this one way or the other. Funks can go on long term. I've known people that have lived in this, my church is out to get me reality for years, and it's a dreadful existence. So I don't know much, but I do know this. God calls us in Romans 12:18. It says, if it is possible, and sometimes it's not, right? But if it's possible, as much as it depends on you, live peaceably with all men. So if people are out to get you, try and live peacefully. Love your enemies and communicate with your enemies. I think that's a big thing. If listening to this today that you need to have a conversation, schedule that. Send me an email at podcast@chemistrystaffing.com. Let me know. I'd be happy to hold you accountable. I'd love to hear how the conversation goes and what you learn. And hopefully this will be the first step, the first day that will help you get back on the track to healthy ministry and not feel like your church is out to get you. Okay, that's today's podcast. Join us tomorrow. We have one more episode this week, and it's going to be a good one. The title is, I Bet You Have Somebody Who'd Pay for That. You won't want to miss it tomorrow on the Healthy Church Staff Podcast.